everyone, I'm Lori Jennifer. Thank you so much for being here. In this video, I want to tell you how to listen so that your transgender children will talk to you. So you might be wondering why that's any different from talking to your cisgender children. And I'll tell you why I think so. And this is, again, just my experiences as a mom, what I've learned over the years through just parenting a trans kid. These are things that I've had to work on and be conscious about, so I want to share them with you. So the reason that it's different with a transgender child is because there's a little more going on a lot of the time with our trans kids than there is with our cis kids. The other piece is I am cisgender, so I don't know how it feels to be transgender. So I don't have the history that Michael has, and I don't understand all of the burdens that he carries. I feel like I can see it, can understand why. I know what's going on in the world. I know what's going on within the schools. I know what's going on, on social media and how trans kids are carrying more of a burden than a lot of cisgender children, or a different type of burden. I don't mean to compare people. I know there's people all over that struggle or have a hard time. But when your transgender child does talk to you, it's really important that you listen to them carefully so that they know that they can continue to talk to you. They do need that type of support. They need a safe person to talk to. Michael is a teenage boy or preteen boy. He's 12. I know that he's not going to always want to open up to me, but I am trying to always provide a safe space for him. And I have to be aware that when Michael has something going on, a lot of times it's not just that one issue that's bothering him, but it kind of triggers a lot of feelings from the past. I believe, to the best of my knowledge, that Michael felt very helpless in the beginning of his life, in those early developmental years when he told us that he was transgender and we denied the proper support. I think he felt unheard, unseen, not, just very alone. And so for him to trust me now and for him to get to the point where he knows that I do hear him and I do see him, it's taken some work. So here's an example. Last night, it was about an hour before the time that I usually have him go to bed. I wasn't feeling very well and I was definitely not in a good mood. And I just said to my husband, can you take his phone? We always take his phone at night. Can you just take his phone now? Let's let him get to bed an hour early. He needs sleep. And Michael was super frustrated. Rightfully so, because he expected that one extra hour. Yes, I let him have his phone before he goes to bed. He conks out the second we take the phone. He's very good at falling asleep, so we let him have it. It does help him relax and, I guess, tune out at the end of the day. But this unexpected take his phone away really upset him a lot. And so, I said, why are you so upset? Is it the phone? And he was like, no, I was supposed to have an extra hour. We talked through it. And I realized it really wasn't about the phone at all. It was about the fact that it was abrupt. It was taken away without any kind of warning. It wasn't really fair in a sense. And that would frustrate anybody. But for a kid who didn't feel heard, respected, listened to, that kind of brings up a lot more. And I think the state of mind that he's in general at times can be a little bit different, he's not always in as good of a place as I'd like him to be in. So something as small as what I did last night, which was not great, a good choice. It wasn't great parenting. I talked it out with him. I said, okay, I understand. If you want the phone, you can have it tonight. We're going to work on taking it away a little earlier because you're having trouble getting up in the morning. So maybe you need an extra hour of sleep, but we'll start, I'll prepare him for that for next week. And he understood, and he did not get up and get the phone, even though I said, you are right. You can go get your phone. He didn't want to, but it was more the fact that we just took it from him so abruptly. And, that it wasn't really fair. So things like that can, I think, have a different impact because he's already felt invisible, unheard, disrespected, disregarded in all of these different ways. So that being said, I try to do my best as a parent. I am nowhere near a perfect parent. But these are my six, I have notes again. These are my 6 strategies for how to talk to your transgender child and how to listen to them. So I want to say that this is about, in general, when they come to you as something important. I think this is great parenting in any situation. But if your trans kid comes to you because they're being bullied at school or they're being harassed or there's a kid in the building who's misgendering them on purpose or stuff is going on in their friend group. There's drama. Somebody, pulled them into the friend group and pushed them back out. All of these kind of normal things that go on. Or unfortunately, things that can be exacerbated when you're transgender. These kinds of things can be very difficult for somebody who's already carrying a heavy burden. Just like when you've had a really rough day at work and a bunch of things have gone wrong, and then you come home and like one stupid little thing goes wrong and your reaction is a lot bigger because you've already dealt with multiple stressors during your day. Let's remember that our children are dealing with stressors that we're not aware of. So first thing that I do when Michael shares something, and unfortunately he has shared some really big things with me, some very difficult things. I'm not going to share what they are. I respect his privacy, but I think, sometimes my first thought is, or my first reaction is emotional. I'm angry, I'm hurt, I'm upset, or I'm worried. But I can't let that show in the moment. So I have learned that no matter how I'm feeling, to tone it down as much as possible. So when Michael tells me something big, I will express feeling. I would never be cold about it. But if I'm at a 10, he's going to see me at like a 2 because I have to be steady and strong for him in those moments. So, it took a conscious choice for me to get to that point, for me to not get super emotional. And there are times when he has talked to me about things and I've cried with him, because how can you not? But the calmness, even if you're upset, even if you're feeling sad and you want to express that to your child, it's okay to show those emotions, but you have to keep it to the point where they feel that you're the person that they can lean on, not that they're trying to comfort you or reassure you or play it down. That's definitely a big one. They may hesitate to tell you things in the future, like, oh, mom got really upset the last time I told her, this one kid keeps, shoving me in the hallway, and mom was really angry. I don't think I should tell her the next, now this happened. I don't want to tell her, because kids want to protect us. Michael always wants to protect me from feeling upset. So I have to calmly react when he talks to me. And then I'll cry later, or I'll talk to my husband and let it all out later. But in front of Michael, as calm as I can be. The next thing that I always do is I always thank him for telling me. I want to reinforce that that's the best thing he can do, is just tell me what's going on. So that's always the second thing. Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm really glad you told me. Thank you. And then usually after he drops something big on me, it's, do you want to talk about it? Because sometimes they just want to tell you, and then they want to process a little more and they don't want to talk about it. Michael will usually say, sure, yes, I do. And it's usually with Michael, something will happen and I won't know until many months later. And I think he just needs his time to process. He needs to build up the courage, or he may be suppressing. I don't know what's going on. I wish he would tell me immediately, but that's something that is very hard for him to do. So when he tells me, it's been going around in his head for quite a long time. So that's when I say, do you want to talk? And he will. And I try to be very quiet and try to be very still. Michael in particular does not do well when you interrupt to ask a question, so I try not to. I did it recently. I didn't understand something he was talking about and I interrupted him and he got so frustrated he didn't want to talk anymore. So quiet listening, nodding. Sometimes when he's telling me really difficult things, I will reach out and put my hand on his arm, or, try to show him that I'm connecting, but I make sure to stay quiet. When he's winding down, or when he's done, I will ask clarifying questions if I didn't understand something. But I try not to pry too much, but I do need to know, there's always a couple of questions that I have. So those are the first two things. So stay calm. Thank you for sharing with me. The third thing then is, and this is a tricky one, I like to get his input on how he wants me to handle it. Sometimes I just say, do you want me to listen, or would you like me to offer some suggestions? If it's something like that, whatever it is, this is what we should think, or this is my input, and it can just be done. It can just be a conversation and then done. But other times you have to take action. So I will say to him, what would you like to do? This is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking we should call the principal and let them know what happened. I'm thinking we should reach out to the teacher. Here's an example of a time with his permission. It's okay if I share this. When Michael was in the 6th grade, a friend of his had a little sister who I guess got into the big sister's phone, got Michael's phone number, decided it would be really fun to harass Michael. So these 5th grade girls, this, younger sibling of a good friend and her friend, started to text Michael. And it went on for several days and he didn't say anything to me. But they were using transphobic slurs. They were like telling him, I'm trying to remember, I have it all, in my phone, but they were just saying really like very, very, very bad things. I would classify it as like hate speech. And his text back were, can you just leave me alone? Can you stop texting me? At one point, this one kind of like really, choked me up. He was like, I'm just trying to have a nice weekend. Can you just stop? And they didn't stop. I ended up, when he did tell me about it, which was thankfully, he told me pretty shortly after it happened. I think it was like that Monday or Tuesday, he told me about it. I did say to him, like, I'm going to take your lead on this, but I feel that was hate speech. I feel that this crosses a huge line. The fact that you multiple times told them to stop and they didn't stop, that is harassment, that is bullying. Would it be okay with you if I shared these texts with your principal? And we move forward with the principal, with their help. And he said yes. If he had said no, I probably would have let it rest for a day and then gone back and said, it's still bothering me. I really think that these people need to stop. Or if he was adamantly against it, I might say, okay, how about this? We don't say anything now, but if it happens again, then we say something. So Michael is reasonable. He understands, that there are times when I will say, like, this is really what I think we should do versus what do you want to do? How do you want to handle it? And he's young, so I don't expect him to know how to solve his problems, but I do want him to have that autonomy. I do want him to feel in control of the situation. I don't want to take a harassment, bullying, or other really bad situation and add to the trauma that he's feeling. By now I'm taking control. Now I'm forcing you to do X, Y, and Z because this is how I want to handle it. And that is hard because as parents, we want to fix things and we know what's right for our kids. There are times when I have taken a step back and said, okay, we'll do this for right now. And I'll check in with him. I'm going to talk about that in a moment. Other times when I said, we really need to do something. This really can't go on. So if you completely take away their control, that's not good. But if you want to take the lead, as long as they feel that you're walking with them, I think that's important. You don't want to take full control away. And you don't want to just let things go when your child is being harassed. Incidents that happen once, I'm more likely to let it go. But if it's repetitive, that's when I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, we can't. And then also, there was a situation this year where something was going on. And I just said to him, listen, let me just bring it to the attention of your teacher. And I said, we'll ask your teacher not to do or say anything to this child at this point, but just to keep an eye. And Michael was fine with that too. His teacher was very receptive. She was wonderful. She said that she actually had them in the same group together. So she said, I'm going to move everybody's seats so they're not in the same, at the same table sitting together. It was, a class where they were at tables working in groups. So there are different ways to handle things. So even though I was angry about this child in this particular situation, I was very upset about it. It was a one-time thing. Michael did stand up for himself, which I thought was wonderful. And I reinforced that too. Like, I love how you handled that in the moment. Great job. Thank you for sharing it. Let's tell your teacher, but we don't want to get this kid in trouble. We don't want it to escalate because in junior high, especially if somebody tattles, right, that causes other problems too. So you have to work through with your kid what they're comfortable with and what's appropriate for that situation. Okay, the fourth thing is please respect your child's privacy. If they're sharing things with you, you should not be on the phone with your friends talking about it, posting on social media, or sharing things unless your child is comfortable with it. I have a best friend. We share everything. She understands me so well. And so she's my person that I will cry to or vent to. And then, of course, my husband. My mom is amazing too. I try not to burden her, upset her, because she's so loving and she's so close with Michael. So I don't want to call her up every time something bad happens. But I know my people, I know who I can talk to, and I know, that obviously I need to be able to talk through and make sure that I handle things well and get my feelings out about it. But I don't tell my buddies at work. I don't talk about it super openly because I do respect his privacy. And Michael's very open. I wouldn't have this channel if Michael wasn't open. But you know your kid, you know what they're comfortable with. So respecting their wishes and their privacy is very important. Next thing I want to say is it's so important to check back later. Don't sweep things under the rug. Don't act like it never happened. You don't want to harp on it. You don't want to draw their attention back to the bad thing over and over again, because nobody likes that. But a quick check-in later on, like I might say to him, like, how are things going in that class? Are you having any more issues? And he'll say, no, everything's fine. It stopped. Good. So checking back in, like, I didn't forget. I'm here if you need to process or work through your feelings again. Things don't go away. Like, you don't just talk about something once and feel cured and better and over it, right? It can take time. So check in. I will make another video about mental health at some point, just from, again, mom's perspective, but I do want to talk about that. But I do from time to time say to him, how's your mental health? How are you doing? Or how are you feeling about, and I'll just say like a little bit of, I won't bring it up and rehash everything, but how are you doing with situation A? You okay? And that's it. And I think that proves that that you're there, that you're safe, that you care, and that they can talk to you. They can come back to you. And if it comes up a week, a month, a year, 5 years later, and they're still dealing with their feelings about it, that they know that you are someone that they can chat with about it. And then this is the hardest one for me. This is my 6th little piece of advice for how to listen to your kid. I so badly want to know more about a situation. Michael he'll give me like a little bit and then kind of clam up. Michael doesn't come to me, like I said, he doesn't come immediately when something happens. He'll give me a little bit of detail about it. And so I have to work on when to stop talking about it. I have to read his body language. I have to understand that too much is really going to shut him down and push him away. So I don't pry. I try not to ask too many questions. I do ask important questions. I do try to get, detail in terms of, physical safety, things like that. Just, are you okay? Did this happen? Were you hurt? But I don't push. I don't force. I don't nag him to talk about things that he doesn't want to talk about. If he gives me a tiny bit of a situation and I know there's more going on, I'll give it a week sometimes, and I'll check in and be like, how you told me about, when this happened, I'm just curious, like, do you think we could talk a little more? I'm wondering if there's more to the story. I'm wondering if there's more going on. And sometimes he's not ready and sometimes he is ready. So again, as a parent of a trans child who's almost a teenager, it's not easy, not everybody wants to talk to mom about what's going on. I'm hoping that he opens up in some situations with other people. Michael is very close with my parents, my brothers. He has a cousin around his age who he's very close with. So I know that he has other people that he can talk to. And I think that that's extremely important. So there are times when Michael will sleep over at my parents' house because he just wants to be there. And that's like his happy place. And I know he can kind of talk to people there too. So providing your child with more than just you to talk to is important. Showing them who's safe in their lives. If they have an aunt or a cousin or a grandparent or a neighbor or a good friend that you feel they can talk to, that person can take them out for lunch and check in with them too. But I think that, I've asked Michael, is there anything that I can do to be a better listener? Are there things that you want me to do for you that I'm not doing? And he says, no, it's good. So it's a work in progress. I hope that what I've said to you can help you a little bit. I truly hope that we can continue to support trans children and, let them feel like they can come to us. I think it's so important. So thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it, and I will see you soon.